public hearing. Anyway, on behalf of the members of this standing committee on executive appointment and government investigation, would like to welcome Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios representative, Ms. Janina Maritita, and Nani Shah, the appointee, Mr. Joaquin Q. De la Cruz, elected officials, dignitaries, and members of the general public. Before we proceed forward with this public hearing, let me first introduce the members of this committee. To my right side of the aisle is the floor leader of the Senate, Senator Vinny Sablan from the 3rd Senatorial District, Saipan. And to my left side of the aisle is the vice chairman of this committee, Senator Victor B. Hokuk from the 1st Senatorial District, Rota. And I'm the chairman of this committee, Senator Francisco Q. Cruz from the 2nd Senatorial District, Pinia. I would also like to announce a couple of things in the interest of informational purposes and some House rules regarding code of conduct during this public hearing. Today, the members of this standing committee are conducting a public hearing on the reappointment of Mr. Joaquin Q. De la Cruz to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors to represent the 3rd Senatorial District, Saipan. The public will be invited to make comments as to whether you support or oppose the appointee who is before us this morning. We value your input. However, any comments beyond the facts of the appointee or comments that are not directly related with this public hearing will not be entertained, and such comment will be removed from the record. At the same time, please observe minimal noises in disrupting this hearing process. Please turn your electronic to a silent mode. Thank you. Let us now begin. This public hearing is now in session. Today is October 12, 2021, at approximately 10:39 in the morning, here in the Senate Chamber, Capitol Hill, Saipan. This is a public hearing regarding the reappointment of Mr. Joaquin Q. De la Cruz by Governor Rob DeLonger Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold I. Palacios to serve as a member of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors to represent the 3rd Senatorial District, Saipan. Pursuant to 4 CMC, subsection 10301, Ms. Jolene Tagubel is our Senate clerk for this public hearing. Mr. Ben Terlahi will be our Southern Arm, assisted by Mr. Jonathan Diaz, and the legal counsel will be Joe Bermudez, and will all serve accordingly for this public hearing. At this time, can I ask the clerk to please call the roll?
Senator Francisco Q. Cruz.
Here.
Senator Victor B. Hokuk.
Here.
Senator Carl R. K. Neighbors. Senator Jose Esquerra. Senator Vinny Sablan.
Again.
Mr. Chairman, 2 members are present, 2 members are absent.
Thank you, clerk. With 3 members present, we have the necessary number to proceed with this public hearing. However, the Vice President of the Senate, Senator Justo Quirigua, and from the 3rd Senatorial District, and Senator Carl Neighbors from the 2nd Senatorial District are both excused for this public hearing. At this time, we'd like to ask the Sergeant at Arms to please escort the appointee and the governor's representative into the chamber. And before I allow the governor's rep to proceed forward, let me ask the members to adopt the agenda for today's hearing.
Motion to adopt today's public hearing agenda.
A second.
There's a motion to adopt the agenda. One second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same name. Motion carries. And you may sit. Take a seat. And before you introduce the members of the governor's appointment nominee, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of this committee. My name is Janina Maritita, Policy Analyst under the Office of the Governor. and on behalf of Governor Ralph Leon Guerrero Torres, Lieutenant Governor Arnold I. Palacios, I am honored to formally introduce Mr. Joaquin Q. De La Cruz, the Governor's nominee to the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors representing the 3rd Senatorial District, Saipan. By this time, you should have in your possession Mr. De La Cruz's resume describing his extensive professional experience and works of community service. Therefore, on behalf of Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios, I humbly request your support and expeditious confirmation of Mr. De La Cruz's appointment to the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maritita. And before I allow the appointed to deliver any testimony, I would like you, sir, to please rise so that the clerk can minister you.
Please raise your right hand. Mr. Joaquin Q. De La Cruz, you do solemnly swear on the definitive of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Doreen. Mr. De La Cruz, I know that you have submitted all the required documents that this body requested. But if you have anything else that you wish to share this morning, in addition to the documents you submitted, you have the floor. But please, before you proceed, say your name for the record. Thank you.
Chairman, I believe all the required information were virtually in ready.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have submitted all required documents.
Yes.
But do you have anything else that you wish to share with us? You have the floor, but please state your name for the record before you begin any testimony. Thank you.
Alpha Dai, Mr. Chairman, and members of this committee. My name is Joaquin Q. De La Cruz, and I'm here before you as an appointee to the Commonwealth Development Authority Board of Directors. First off, I would like to express my appreciation to Governor Ralph Leon Guerrero Torres and Lieutenant Governor Arnold I. Palacios for this nomination, and most importantly, for their continued confidence in my ability to participate in shaping our economy today. As we all know, CEDA was created from Public Law 22-21, authored by Representative Angel Imapan, enabling the CNMA government to promote and expand economic development necessary to compete against other similar organizations vying for global investments. CEDA succeeds CDA, which was the agency responsible for stimulating economic development in the CNMI. I am no stranger to this agency. I began my employment under the Economic Development Loan Fund, the EDLF, which was the agency prior to CDA. During my time, I grew within the agency and retired as a loan manager for the Development Corporation Division. In June of last year, this body confirmed my nomination as a board director for the CDA board. We worked tirelessly as a team to make strides toward rebuilding our economy. In a recent meeting, we approved the hiring of the Economic Development Manager and expanded the search area outside the Commonwealth with the intention of hiring an individual with experience in economics, marketing, and promotion activities. In addition, in an effort to assist the revival of the fishing, marine, and farming industry, the board approved an increased loanable amount for all businesses from $250,000 to $450,000. The CDA Board of Directors are now tasked with more significant responsibilities in economic development, including the promotion of the Sinumay as a location for private investment and encouraging the growth and development of the market for Sinumay product, with the ultimate goal of linking them to our tourism industry. Today, as we all know and feel the state of the cinema economy, I believe that we all need to contribute to heal our economy, and CEDIA plays a very crucial role. If confirmed, I will continue to work with the current board of directors, other associated agencies, and the private sectors in creating policies that will jumpstart and continue our effort in economic recovery while protecting our history, culture, and natural resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. And before I allow the members of the general public that are here in the gallery that wishes to deliver testimony, first I would like to recognize those entities that are invited to participate. First on the list from the SIDA department, Mr. or rather the Executive Director, Mr. Mano Sabah. Before you proceed, please state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Manuel Sablan. I am the Executive Director of SIDA. And I'm here to represent on behalf of the board, also the CDA management, with respect to the nominations of not only Mr. De La Cruz, but also Ms. Alvi from Rhoda. I know that the committee is here conducting a hearing in Rhoda for Alvi. But my presentation today basically would be to recommend the endorsement of both of them. Following the reappointment of Mr. De La Cruz and Ms. Coco, I sent the chairman a letter dated October 5th, 2001, basically addressing our recommendations very strongly with respect to the two nominations. And I wanted to read this letter for the record because it also covers Ms. Audrey Hoko that will be appearing before the committee in Rhoda that is scheduled, I think, sometime this week or next week. So let me begin, Mr. Chairman, by saying that my letter to you supports the governor's reappointment of two of the Commonwealth Economic Development Board of Directors. Chairwoman Alvi M. Hoko represents Rota, and Director Joaquin Q. De La Cruz represents Saika. Both are individuals eager to help our community and find new ways to promote local businesses and assist in the overall revitalization of our economy. Ms. Hokuk served the municipality of Rota as Special Assistant for Program and Grant under the direct supervision of the Mayor of Rota. She was a teacher in secondary and tertiary level of learning, a facilitator, tutor, advisor, and mentor in various studies. She also has commendable educational achievement, a doctorate in public administration, master's in arts and teaching, master's of public administration, CNMI pre-law program, property law, and contract law, and a graduate of arts and political science. Her education and work experience are valuable assets to this agency. Additionally, Ms. Hokuk obtained F-1360 accredited investment fiduciary designation in 2017 and has since been an EIF designee. She earns credibility and distinction in the marketplace as a fiduciary specialist. EIF designation empowers professionals with the fiduciary knowledge and tools they need to serve their clients. This is one of the essential skills that a board of directors of CDA should possess. And incidentally, Director De La Cruz will also have access into this program. Following the reconfirmations of his appointment. In her tenure with CDA, Ms. Hocco exhibited strong support towards small businesses and local entrepreneurs. She offers positive comments and present fact-based arguments that impacted decisions that the board has made. As a chairwoman of CDA Board of Directors, she practiced good governance and effective leadership. Outside of CDA, and other than her typical office responsibilities, she is very active in organizing community activities in Rota, benefiting all sectors of the community in improving their livelihood and well-being. Now, let me address now the background of Mr. De La Cruz. As he indicated, Mr. De La Cruz is a retiree of CDA, now CIDA. At Mr. De La Cruz's hearing for his initial appointment to the board last year, I stated that he played a critical role in CDA's successes. He served as a loan officer in the 1980s and as a loan manager in the 1990s. When CDA was established in 1985, new opportunities opened for entrepreneurs to start and expand their businesses. Mr. De La Cruz, with expertise in lending, assisted local businesses and individuals obtain financing through CDA and local banks via the guaranteed loan program. At present, he is a marketing and escrow officer of Pacific America Title Insurance. He deals with investment, property management, marketing, and real estate. His educational background in business management combined with his work experience as a lending officer, marketing, and escrow officer are advantages to CIDA. Mr. De La Cruz's term as a member of the board was short. However, he came on board with vivacity to revive the fishing and farming industry in the Commonwealth. In board meetings, he always emphasized the importance and impact of the economy of this industry. A couple of months ago, HB 2221 was signed and became public law 2201. Our mission expands to include promoting the cinema as a location for private investment, an agency to encourage the development of new businesses, retention and expansion of existing businesses within the cinema, to promote the expansion and development of a market for the product of the cinema, and to coordinate, develop, participate in all island investors' mission. CIDA is now tasked with greater responsibility and therefore needs educated and experienced members to lead this agency. With the abilities and aptitude stated above, there is no doubt that Ms. Hocco and Mr. De La Cruz meet this requirement. Ms. Hocco and Mr. De La Cruz are part of this era of economic recovery. The board already met and discussed options. Both are motivated to explore new ideas and strategies and are willing to work together with other members of the board, CIDA management, the administration, the legislature, private sector, to achieve the mandate of CIDA. Having stated all the above, I humbly seek your committee's support to confirm Ms. Hocco and Mr. De Cruz and serve as board of directors of CIDA, Economic Development Authority. Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, I vote you this letter. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sablon. And before I recognize the next entity, first I'd like to recognize the presence of the Vice President of the Senate, Senator Justo Kiliba from the 3rd Senatorial District, is a member of this committee. Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning. Next on the list, any board member of SIDA that is here to deliver testimony? Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the floor for the members of the general public that are here in the gallery that wishes to deliver testimony. And before I allow the members of the general public, again, I would like to say that any comments that is raised that is not directly related with this public hearing will not be entertained, and such comment will be removed from the record. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for any members of the general public that wishes to come forward to deliver testimony. Please, whether you're in support or not in support, you're welcome. But please, before you start delivering your testimony, state your name for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman and members of this committee. I am Geraldine Dela Cruz, and I'm here today to pledge support for Mr. Joaquin Q. Dela Cruz's confirmation to the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. It is no secret that he is my dad, and I think with my family present here today and those that are not here, we can all agree that if there is anyone who has had the most conversations about local and national news, at times even debates with Dad, it'll be me. Therefore, please, I ask this committee to please take my testimony into consideration. He's a hard worker in all aspects of life. Many times he's challenged because he may not have the educational degree that others may have, but rest assured, he has experience and he knows his stuff, most especially in the area of economics and current events. Being with the CDA for over 20 years and over 20 years till present in title insurance and escrow industry, this man is equipped with the tools to gear investments in the CNMI to benefit everyone. As with many recipes of a successful team, a mixture of young and wise members usually turn out the best. I think we can all agree he fits in the wise category. You know, my dad is originally from Rhoda, but now lives here on Saipan. His appointment to the CETA board is for a representative seat for Saipan, but I can assure you that he will always advocate for the betterment of all the islands, most especially in areas of economic interest. This is a great thing for the CETA board. He's humble and smart, and I think that his involvement with CETA is really for the best. So I ask this humble body to vote in favor of confirming Mr. Joaquin Kitsutu Dela Cruz to the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dela Cruz. Is still open for public comment? No one else? Members of the SIDA family wishes to come forward? Once I close public comment, we will not go back to public comment. So this is the opportunity. No one else? At this time, public comment is now closed. Ms. Any letter of support or not in support submitted?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Senate EAGI committee, Mr. Dela Cruz, and members of the general public, In addition to the oral testimonies received today on the executive appointment of Mr. Joaquin Q. de la Cruz to serve on the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority Board of Directors, please be advised of the additional written testimony of which you received in support of the appointee from Mr. Manuel A. Sablan, Executive Director, Commonwealth Economic Development Authority. At this time, no written testimony opposing the appointment of Mr. de la Cruz has been received by the committee. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Julie. At this time, I would like to recognize the members of this committee to raise question or concern in regards to the reappointment of Mr. de la Cruz. At this time, I recognize the floor leader of the Senate, Senator Vinny Sablan from the 3rd Senatorial District.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning to all who are present here in your Senate chamber, most especially to the family of Mr. de la Cruz, Margaret, and your children, and also to Director Sablan and your team. Mrs. Coleman, welcome. And for everyone that's watching on the media channels, via television and Facebook Live. Good morning, Mr. de la Cruz, and thank you for accepting the renomination of the Governor and Lieutenant Governor to serve under the newly transitioned CEDA board, right, which was currently CDA. I know there's a lot of work ahead, especially in these times that we are in right now. It's a great challenge to try to promote investment anywhere, not only here in the CNMI, but in other jurisdictions due to the ongoing pandemic that we all face. Thank you for your testimony this morning. You did mention in your testimony the transition of the CDA into the CEDA, which was House Bill 22-21, HD1, was signed into law and became Public Law 22-01. You did mention that you had several meetings in the past after your confirmation last year. So I just wanted to kind of ask a question on the new CEDA, which is Public Law 22-01. And this touches on, and it references Section 4 of the public law, which is the amendment that was made, right? And that would allow for new sections under Title 4 to actively promote the CNMI as a location for private investment. So in reference to that section, during your meetings, has there been any promotion activities that have taken place or plans how these promotions will take place since the transition of CDA to CEDA?
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator Sablan. As I mentioned on my statement earlier, that since the enactment of the Commonwealth Economic Development Authority, we came up with the idea of this economic development manager. And the main goal of this is to hire somebody that can go out and promote the entire CNMI. This is how the management and the board decided, is that we put all together our information, and from that position, which is roughly, I believe it should be, I think the closing date is maybe this week or next week. So then after that, I believe again the board of directors and the management will get together to decide as to who will be the best person to get that position.
Thank you. And that's again economic
development manager.
Okay, economic development manager. So that's a good step into the direction of coming up with those plans to promote investment. Correct? Maybe upon the selection of this individual, I was going to ask you a follow-up question, but maybe this question would be great for you guys to ask the person that will be coming on board, is to look into maybe some of the public laws or policies that are in place in reference to investments, and to see if there's any recommendations for us to change any, change any laws that are in the books, which would make it easier for us to entice investors to come in. So maybe that would be a good start for that person that would be coming in. It's just to look into the books. We have the great website, the cnmilaw.org, where that person could look and migrate and see if there's any laws that the board or that person would recommend for us to take a look at. So it could smoothen out the process.
And also for additional information, during our discussion, when we decided to establish this position, is that we tried to hire somebody that can entice investors, because as of where we are right now, I mean, everything is very idle, and we need to jumpstart our economy, fast, because right now everybody's competing globally as to who's gonna get something. So that's our main goal, is to make sure that the person that's gonna be hired is ready to go out and market the entire cinema.
Thank you. Again, a great step in the direction of the promotion into investment in the CNMI. I know it will be challenging, like I said in my opening statements, due to the ongoing pandemic that we're going through, and maybe also for this person to just also consider and not forget, the possibility of enticing our local entrepreneurs, small businesses to come up and start creating their businesses, so that we can generate some sort of vibrations of economic improvement here, since it'll be quite a challenge to get people to come in and invest. Nonetheless, we should always go in that direction. But just a recommendation to really push out the possibility of local entrepreneurship and small business. My next question, Mr. De La Cruz, I'm not sure if you're aware of House Bill 22-70, and this is a House bill that was introduced by the very author of the CETA bill, Congressman Angel de Mapan. House Bill 22-70, I'll read the title of the House bill, and it's to reform the Investment Incentive Act of 2000 to promote economic development in the Commonwealth and increase competitiveness of the Commonwealth for private sector investment. I'm not sure if CETA or the board has looked at this bill, but the bill aims to make a couple of amendments, very technical amendments, and one of them is to kind of tweak and look at the QC program. And we know that under the QC program, we have listed, and that's Title 4, Division 5, subsection 50202. Those that are eligible for the QC program, they list like franchise restaurants, water parks, aquariums, cultural centers, theme parks, and any investor that would venture into providing this service to the CNMI shall apply for a QC. House Bill 22-70 partially aims to kind of open this up and not only offer qualifying certificates to those investors that are going to offer what's listed under subsection 50202, but kind of give the board the authority to decide. And even if they're not gonna build any of these that are listed under the current statute, the board would be the one to determine who would be qualified to receive a qualifying certificate. So what the bill does, a portion of the bill does, is it really just strikes out the list of of services that investors would provide in order to qualify, the eligibility to qualify under QC. Do you agree with that move into that direction of just kind of opening up the QC to any of the investors and any services that they're going to provide, and the board to decide that eligibility?
Well, I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I think CEDA had entertained the QC hearing for one of the proposed applicant. And to be honest, I'm not really familiar yet with that, and I would like to refrain first whether, whether I understand more of the QC, but where the CEDA is getting this, even with the board, yeah.
Okay, so just for the record, it's House Bill 22-70. And it'd be good to, for maybe for the new person that's coming in, as well as yourself and the leadership and the great staff of CEDA to kind of look at that bill and dissect it as it's kind of in motion and in the process in this current legislature. There's a lot of sections into that, and I'm sure the other members will get into it, but I'll stop there and I'll yield to other members for them to touch on that certain House bill. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield my time to the other members. Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz.
Thank you, Floor Leader. This time I'd like to recognize the Vice Chairman, Senator Hu from the Second Senatorial District. Brother.
Well, I guess thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of my concerns too is this House bill that is now in motion in the legislature regarding the added responsibility and for CEDA to engage in promoting the development for the entire Commonwealth. So before I go into that, first of all, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the appointee for reaccepting to continue to undertake this critical responsibility. And I'm pretty sure that growing up with economic development in the initial to CDA to CEDA is a new version of direction to have more incentive for these entities. So moving forward with this legislation, which you need probably to and seriously to review this legislation that is very critical moving forward for the new amendment of CDA law to CEDA, and the kind of investment that the new law will look into to promote is very critical, and maybe it's good to note that we try to look into an investment that the board and the management can foresee the real impact for economic growth. And one of the version of this new bill that is now in motion, 22-20, I am very glad to see that the new direction of CEDA will undertake the responsibility of having all permitting approved prior to inviting any developers to come in, like more or less like a shovel-ready investment. Right now, with our pressing QC, I don't think a lot of people have availed for this incentive at this time. Or how many number of investment have available for this present QC issue?
If I'm not mistaken, right now, we only have one pending, right? There's only one right now that CDA is entertaining.
The prior law, the prior CDA,
Oh,
not
the QC.
CUDA.
I don't know exactly, but maybe Mr. Sablan would know how many QC do we have right now?
We have 3.
Can we just allow the, no objection from the member? Allow the secretary to come forward?
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, we have active 2, 1 is pending. So in terms of the existing QC beneficiaries, there's only 2 companies that are benefiting on the QC this time. But there's one that has applied for QC under the existing law. Okay, so what's happening is under the existing law, you can only apply to qualify under those categories of investment with a minimum amount of investment. So there's a lot of companies that could otherwise apply, but they couldn't meet the minimum. Under the proposal.
So maybe you can help the committee, Mr. Sablan, on behalf of the appointee. So CDA will set the type of investment in order for interested investors to come in to qualify for a certain percentage of the qualifying certificate benefits.
Right. The reason why I participated in the formulation of the existing draft of the QC. It is now going through the legislative process. And I see it as a major flexibility that is granted to CDA because there's a lot of companies that could otherwise apply for QC. There's a lot of companies here that is in the millions of dollars in terms of revenue, but for them to invest in a new investment, you have to meet that threshold. So $1 million, for example, to get into hotel development, you have $10 million of investment. But you have an hotel operating. So you can qualify for a QC because a QC requires a new infusion of capital expenditure. And that new infusion is the dollar amount, minimum amount. We cannot issue a QC retroactively. You have to be proactive. Okay, so with all of this thing, there's a lot. For example, when I took on this job, I noticed that there is a dichotomy of economic activity here. Some of them never applied for QC, but they continue to thrive. In fact, become multinational. Okay, but they never applied for QC. But those that applied for QC and they got the QC. And some of them that got the QC, they never implemented because they couldn't qualify, they couldn't meet the requirement. So that is very inflexible, and it doesn't provide a perverse application of the benefit. So under the proposed legislation, it gives CDA board not only the flexibility, but on an annual basis, you have to publish a specific industry, so-called industries or businesses that will qualify under this scenario. And it would also address the issue regarding minimum capital investment. So that companies that are already doing business here and they wanted to expand. So the expansion issue there is new generation economic activity. So we wanted to promote that. But we cannot issue currency certificates for any entity that doesn't need the assistance. Let me give an example. Under the current statute, if I give you a QC, every year you have to come in and give me a certified financial statement, audited financial statement. For what purpose? Okay, so you come in and apply for a QC and you show me a 10-year perspective, projected revenue and expense. And you're showing there that you're not making any money for the first 5 or 10 years. So you need government support to make that thing viable. But what happens if 2 years after you started the business, you see a jump in the profit 200%? You're going to still be entitled to a QC? Under the current scenario, you will continue to entitle because a contract. You cannot amend that contract. Once you enter that contract, you entitle that benefit. So under the proposed legislation, two things would happen to CDA. Number one, we would address basically any investment that is suitable for CNMI, regardless of the size. If it generates economic expenditure and activity, then we should support it. And if that activity requires support at the front end, by the CNMI government to provide tax relief or any kind of a relief, it would help. In addition to this, it gives us also the opportunity to identify sites, areas within the CNMI that we could go in and obtain either by a lease arrangement, NPLT, or a DTL, or private arrangement, get that site permitted in terms of environmental impact, coastal zone impact, historical impact, because all of those are required before you even touch the ground. So under the new legislation, it gives CDA basically the mandate. CDA go out there and work with DTL, identify the site, and if that site is good for agriculture, and we want it to promote agriculture, get that site permitted. So that when somebody comes in and wants to get into that business, the site has already been permitted. So the only thing remaining is construction permit, when you're actually going to start digging the ground. That's a completely different permitting arrangement. But under the present situation, it dissuades prospective investment because of that part. And the timing is costly, you see. So that's why I'm very excited about this, about the fact that we have the new organization. It gives the board basically a mandate to address this thing very specifically. And with the amendment of the QC, it gives the board also the tools to work and promote economic development. And with my board's background, like Mr. De La Cruz and the others, there's nothing there that would tell me that we do not have the capacity to do this. We have a very well trained and educated with all kinds of background that the CDA board basically would be working with. So my concern is I want to make sure that on the management side, that there's an expertise to provide this kind of direction.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Director. So the reason why I asked that, because this new legislation will redirect the percentage or the time of availing for the qualifying certificate. And one of these major interest that comes to me is seeing the new version of how the board, the CEDA, and staff will navigate the promotion of investment opportunity to the CNMI by taking the lead to secure the obstacles that deter investors to move forward to develop the island and help our people. And with that, it is very important for you, Mr. De La Cruz, when confirmed, to seriously discuss this with other board members to avail to this vision that CEDA staff will work thoroughly with other agencies on a specific investment promotion that the board of CEDA would like to see established in the CNMI. And that way, then the marketing strategy would be a lot convincing, a lot easier for interested investment to move forward within the CNMI. And perhaps we can also look into promoting additional incentive to the depressed municipality for needed investment, not necessarily only on the island of Saipan. per se, let's pick up from there, a computer company that is interested to do business to avail for the quality certificate and outbid the promotion on a different percentage and time frame availing for QC, wrote that, or Tinian, then they can have more advantage to move there as compared to the Alano side. So maybe the CDA board can seriously discuss this matter and see how we can fit this in this proposed House bill that is now in motion, that the Senate will soon act on it. My only concern on this, Mr. De La Cruz and to other board members, is with this bill, I think we discussed it with other members that we are not really fond of the board members not making the necessary time frame in decision making, and if they cannot make this decision, the governor will have to make that consideration on behalf of the board members. So I think this idea is a bad policy for the board not to make a decision whether to approve or disapprove. Because if this is going to happen, then maybe we don't need the board.
Well, can I ask, can I ask
Please,
this?
can you
Okay.
go on the issue?
This is
Maybe
why
we
I'm
need to
saying-
understand that.
You know, I've been in this business, Mr. Chairman and members, for the longest time, okay? I will look at the financial aspects of things. And one of the things I noticed is that whenever we talk about money, allocations of government money, there's two kinds of allocations involved here. Operational allocations and capital expenses allocation. Now, I haven't seen any document on an annual basis. If I were a congressman and you come into me and say, listen, I want to promote certain things. To promote certain things requires a number of things financially. You need a capital expenditure, which is a new deal. Now that expenditure is not annual, it's a multi-year. So you're telling me you need to construct a facility. That facility economic life may be 10 years. So for the 10 years, you have to make sure that there's funding there. Make sure that that expenditure is paid off. There's a depreciation involved, deferred maintenance. So many of the problems we have here is we don't account for this thing when we make that decision. The other is the operation expenditure. It's an annual basis. It's an income expense arrangement. That's why you talk about working capital thing. Okay. Now, public money is any money. It's money. It's as good as any other money. Okay, so people come to you and say, listen, I want this project, this project. I had a discussion with one of the key leaders here. And I asked him, I said, okay, you are a government entity, right? Just like CDA. We provide service. Now that service has a price. Now why can't I charge my service for the price I could recover? If anything, recover the cost. So I don't have to go to the legislation, another legislation funding. Because I produce the product. I service you, just like any private entity. But why is it that an income producing entity in a semi-government, okay, doesn't control the income generated from that entity? The reasons for that basically is that you don't see the data. When you come in, if you were to come in to me and say, listen, I need something. First, if you only need operational expenditure, no problem. I'll give you a 12-month budget. But if you're telling me you're going to invest, you need to procure equipment to help you generate income. That equipment has a life. So you have to provide maintenance on this. And I don't see this. So when you pass a budget, You're passing a budget that is operational for 12 months. You don't pass a budget that is multi-year. Now, you have to make sure that when you make the decision, it's a multi-year, including current year. Then you talk about the impact. What I'm very excited about is that we received this tremendous amount of federal money onto the ALPA. This is free demand, interest cost, free of interest. It's 100% subsidy. And they're providing you this money for two things. Okay? To spend on operation and to spend on capital improvement for the recovery of that. Now, you have to have a budget going forward that tells you exactly how much money is going to operation, how much money is going to CIP, and when are you going to recover. And you should track this thing on a daily or monthly basis. You should be able to tell, see, I'm not interested in income and expense, I'm interested in cash flow. How much of this thing is generated in terms of expenditure, in terms of cash out and cash in? And if you see a negative figure there, then that tells me that something is happening on the expenditure side. But Mr. Chairman and member, I get excited about this thing because I see this thing every day. So my job at the CDA is to work with the board and find ways to make some sense out of this, but be able to track it. So there's accountability on this thing. And I'm glad under this statute here, I'm required to report to you on an annual basis, the CEDA report, specific information, income and outcome.
All right, thank you, Director. My concern here is why are we passing the decision-making to the governor when the board, CEDA board will not make the decision? Why can't they just say disagree or agree? Rather than, if any of the decision-making is not reached among the board for approval or disapproval, why do we have to give the governor to make that consideration?
It's because of statute. You create a statute here, called the multi-year development plan. The governor is required to submit to the legislature on an annual basis, essentially expenditure plan. Now that expenditure plan is based on objective, and goes on an objective. National goes on objective. So what the statute provides is that CDA board would have to move according to that national policy and objective. Otherwise, and then
No, I'm talking about disqualifying certificate applicant, that if they cannot make any decision,
I see.
okay, if they cannot make any decision, why would, after 90 days of the applicant and still no decision by the board members, why would we pass the consideration for the governor to make that decision?
I really don't know.
So Mr. De Cruz, now I'm gonna go back to you. If this happened, what do you feel if the board cannot make a decision? Is it a good policy for the board of directors to not make a decision and give others to do the decision making when the authority is vested among or within the board members? Do you support that idea?
I think right now, I don't know whether I can answer that immediately because, I mean, if that policy has to be reviewed, on the entire board of directors of the CEDA, I think we need to compromise whether decision has to be made immediately or we need to pass it on.
Yeah, but in making this decision or this consideration, like if an applicant appeals for this consideration, that the board, by virtue of this legislation, is proposing 90 days for the board to make that consideration. Okay, 90 days, that's 3 months. if an applicant submit today, the board have 90 days to consider the fate of this applicant. Now, if the board, if 3 months is nearing expiration and the board still cannot make the decision within the period of 90 days, do you support that we pass this decision making to the governor to make that decision for the board of directors? I'm just asking.
No, I don't think so. I think the 90 days is more than sufficient.
Okay.
More than sufficient time to, to make a decision based on whatever information that is needed for the board. I think 90 days is sufficient for them to make a decision whether to approve or not to approve.
Thank you for that. So that will is now the issue in this proposed legislation, that we may not consider having this line item, to have the governor make that decision when the board of directors will not make one. And the reason why we have this board of directors is to guide and help the executive move forward with the economic activities. I think if you reject an applicant, you have a good reason of rejecting. When you approve, you have a good reason. And perhaps whatever the case may be, that could be reported to the government. Right?
Yes.
So I'd like to clear that now while you're here as during your hearing, and I just want to feel if and when confirmed about this section of this proposed legislation, whether you will support or not. And I hope other board members will agree with the committee, with the members of the Senate, that this language is not proper to be in a statute, that to pass the responsibility for others to consider the decision making. Well, when you have that decision making. Okay.
Senator, there's one issue there, as I see it, as I said, the qualifying certificate is a document, it's a contract. A contract basically saying that you are not subject to tax if you provide this relief. And my understanding is that the only individual that can enter that contract is the governor. Now, the governor would delegate that responsibility to CDS, and so the better. But I want to make sure that you looked at that. I need the legal counsel to look at that, because my understanding is that the reason why the governor is involved at the final end is because he's the only one authorized to enter the contract and provide tax relief.
No, but that tax relief directive will be screened
Yes,
to where the application is submitted. Okay?
I agree.
So upon your recommendation of your findings, and the board members with the help of the staff will navigate the decision making that will definitely the governor make that decision, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm leading to. Now, if for example, an applicant is denied, perhaps he can avail, other alternative to seek a consideration from the governor, for the governor to meet with you and to look into what other alternative that we can help this applicant, if in your finding that he is financially prudent, sound to carry out the investment versus the QC application that he will benefit from, that will not jeopardize the industry or the business, no time to provide service. Maybe that can be reconsidered, right? Because we never know, we're doing good today. Tomorrow we might hit some hard rocks that everybody's going to collapse, no? So those are the considerations that I like also the board to be mindful in individuals availing or company availing for that, for uncontrolled disaster, for like. So, but I am very interested to see the new direction of promoting investment to the CNMI is for this board and the staff to work, and identify the kind of investment that perhaps may bring uh, immediate growth and opportunities for other business to grow by providing them the necessary permitting agency readily available for them to avail and pay the price of whatever that the government or the CEDA costs to negotiate with other agencies to secure this type of investment. And then maybe that's the best opportunity for your marketing manager, to promote interested parties, that can avail for all kinds of this development as a new investment opportunity in the CNMI. And that will really encourage the business interest to promote, because right now, I don't know, have you ever watched investors coming in and do already 50% of the legworks? And then moving forward, they got hit with unreasonable issues that deter to continue their interest, that really impose difficulties in growing the CNMI opportunity. And those are the things, Mr. De La Cruz, that I seriously like to ask you to visualize how we can lure, investment, that particular investment that we don't have, that we can see is going to be a lucrative opportunity also for the cinema and other business connection with other businesses. The effect of doing business will help another business promote more. So I know that you are very mindful about promoting also farming and fishing, where I'm really very fond of doing those also myself. And maybe I can ask you also to discuss this when confirmed. How do we really move our local produce to somewhere that like to Japan, Korea, that we can provide some supplies that to help other farmers, right? Other than just to do farming to service within the island, but maybe to look into opportunity how we can exit our islands to promote marketing on different kind of produce or like meat product and fishing, or fish product to other countries. The thing is, there's a way how to do that, but we just need to seriously encourage to our local to engage into those kind of business, local business opportunity. What we're discussing about this ARPA and the PUA and whatever benefit, this is gonna leave us soon. So we need to take advantage, like you said, Director. We like to take advantage with this 100% federal system and prepare for the future, so that we can be self-reliant thereof. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Now I'd like to recognize the Vice President of the Senate, Senator Blake.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to apologize for coming in late. I had a prior scheduled meeting with NMC, and I'm glad that I can make it back on time to this very important public hearing. And good morning, Mr. De La Cruz. And I am not going to ask you questions of your credentials, because you are returning to be again when confirmed to serve as a CDA board However, when you confirm or because the agency has changed to CEDA with more specific uh, functions and responsibilities. And then, as mentioned earlier, House Bill 22-70 again has more specific targeted functions and responsibilities to CEDA. So if this has not been done before, if you are reconfirmed, does the board have any plan to do some restructuring of CDA because of the additional responsibilities, such as because you'll be dealing with not only within the cinema, but the Public Law 22-1, and also the upcoming House Bill 22-70 expands your outreach to be globally rather than just CNMI or to Korea or Japan. And I'm really looking at whether the board has, or if you confirm, or will the board be discussing some restructuring within CEDA, upgrading of systems, the technology systems, upgrading of personnel to deal with the additional responsibilities. When I mean upgrading the personnel, providing trainings, and also I saw the ad that Mr. Sablan mentioned earlier that is being announced, but I think it's going to take more than that. So my question is, will there be a plan for the board to instruct management to do an assessment of the entire CEDA, whether, and I'm pretty sure that with the expanded responsibilities, there's a need to have, for example, because CEDA cannot just rely with itself and the investors. There's a lot of economic opportunities, such as grants, for example, through the economic administration in the U.S. government, through commerce in the U.S. government, through other federal agencies that makes available federal funds to upgrade economic development, such as here in the cinema. And I believe that perhaps if CEDA doesn't have this person at this time, the board should be thinking of staffing CEDA with such an individual. And also, Mr. Sablan mentioned earlier about the reports that are required. Now that CEDA has changed the responsibilities of the previous agency, you need a specialized person or persons to do all these reports, studies, economic forecasts, potential businesses that is good for the CNMI, and that takes individuals that can pull out all those research and studies and present to the CNMI, because even if if the statute provides you with all these targeted areas where you have to identify that these areas are good for agriculture, if you're interested, if you're an investor, and you're interested in commercial farming, this is the area, and we can deal with you. But then on the other hand, if the investor comes in and say, how do I market my produce? Is there any marketing? I think it is incumbent on CEDA to really provide information. That there's going to be a lot of information that will be these investors that will be looking into the CNMI to invest, because I don't think they just come in here and say, I'm going to build a hotel, and then not knowing that or who is going to occupy this hotel, where's the tourists are going to come from. So all these things, I think it is the responsibility of CEDA to come up and provide all this data for businesses to come in. And this is the structure that I'm talking about. CEDA has to restructure itself. I don't think that the current structure will handle the additional responsibilities and functions that is required by law. And also mentioned earlier by the Vice Chairman, it requires cooperation with other agencies. You're going to deal with public land. You're going to deal with the other permitting agencies, which is a tremendous obstacle to get a permit from all the agencies in a very short time, other than lasting up to 6 months, sometimes to a year. And who in its good mind as an investor to come here and spend 1 year trying to get a permit and not making money when they already have in their plan that they would like, for example, to put up a hotel within 3 months. But coming over here and creating and encountering all these obstacles, it's a tremendous burden and a disappointment for some investors. So these are the things that CEDA will have to, the board will have to really look at and recreate the insight of CEDA to make sure that that investors or not only investors, or here the legislature, if we want to ask about data and all of these things, it's readily available for us to review so that we can assist. But at this time, it's very difficult. We create legislation, but most of the time it's absent data. And as was mentioned earlier by the Vice Chairman, is that you have the board and says there's an investor that comes in and wanting to be entertained, and CEDA has 90 days. And if they cannot make a decision, okay, Governor, you make a decision. We cannot approve, we cannot disapprove. So you make the decision, and I think I also agree that that's a bad policy, and it shouldn't be continued, and that's the responsibility of. And I'm glad that Mr. De La Cruz said that that's the board responsibility, is to approve or disapprove. And if he disapprove, it goes to the governor. If it disapprove, then it's disapproved for reasons and probably be resubmitted. And I would like to suggest to the board that within the 90-day period, if the investor is having difficulties with requirements and all of these things that is required by CEDA, I think that it is incumbent upon CEDA to assist in trying to provide information that is creating some obstacles in completing the application and whatnot within agriculture. So I hope that Mr. De La Cruz, if you are reconfirmed that you work with the other board and of course management to lay out a plan here to make sure that the new statute will be implemented accordingly with eliminating the experience that we are now experiencing in terms of investors coming in, but then they have to leave because they cannot complete it they have their own timeline, but they cannot complete their permitting. And one example also is that road antenna, there's no problem. Aside from the zoning, you're gonna be colliding with the zoning law here, the zoning board, the CNMI. That's why you need to coordinate with the zoning here because they're created by law for a reason. And investors that are coming in will have to be aware that we have the zoning law. However, CEDA must assist in coordinating to reduce the frustration and the time to get all of this together. And the vice chair mentioned that if these are all done right, it's already all the permits are all clear. And I'd like to go back to the agriculture and say, that place is identified good for agriculture. There's no problem, no fish and wildlife restriction. There are no birds there. You're ready to go. So those are the things that the vice chairman is saying that everything is secure. The investor will have to come in, and CEDA will have to prove that this year ready to go and do your that investment. Of course, our biggest issue here is market. And so all the agencies must play a major role. And I hope that we can do this because we have been tackling this issue of different agencies giving different permits, and it's taking a long, long time. So I hope that the board will see that will take the initiative to coordinate all of these things. But this cannot happen without a restructuring of the internal department of the city. So with that, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Mossi and Mr. De La Cruz, thank you for your willingness to again take this added responsibility and your willingness to continue assisting CNMI and its people through the development of its economy. Perhaps Mr. Sablan and Mr. Maybe we should have one economist in CEDA. We should have one in the future. You don't have one economist in CEDA, so that can be forecasting all of this things that.
Well, what the board has decided is to put first priority, get this economic development manager, which is basically an economist, come in and provide us some kind of a direction in terms of technical expertise in trying to set this thing up. And from there, then you're gonna provide the design. Like you said, there's a lot of things that goes into this that requires internal capacity. The technical assistance component of this is very critical. So these are the areas, but eventually there's going to be a roadmap here as to what is the operational requirement, get this thing implemented, and the funding, and who's supposed to be involved. But the board will be setting basically the map going forward in doing this. and was in collaborations with the other agencies. So it's a very mammoth arrangement. So the thing that gets me is that there's a lot of information here that is available, is not published, or we have no access. For example, if you ask a question, how many businesses are operating yesterday or 30 days ago, and who are these businesses? What are the sectors? You don't have the data there. You have to have this data. So now CDA is not geared to be the statistician for the Sinamay government. It's supposed to be an agency to do this thing. And they have to prioritize the acquisitions of this data and the publication of this data. You know, so we need to have an economic statistician, either lot of the CDA or lot of the Department of Commerce, but somebody with that kind of a knowledge and expertise must be there. So that when we make a decision, it's data driven and data that is currently available. See, for example, as I said, there is economic activity going on. Businesses producing income and they're paying taxes on those income. But we don't have the data on this thing that would define essentially what are those entities that are flourishing and entities that are having problems, and where do we zero in to assist them. So this is a mammoth arrangement. But my thinking is that if we're successful in doing certain things, it will set a pattern. And my concern really is this, is that people should not differentiate whether this money is coming in from the government or from the private sector or from the federal government. It's money, and it has to be accounted for. And this money is necessary for the economy to multiply. You have to have money to spend, and when expenditures is the key to economic development. That's what triggers the so-called multiplying effect.
Yeah, Mr. Sablan, I think the most frustrated body is the legislature. Because when we do bills, we ask for data. Sometimes we cannot get data. And when we contact the head of the agency, as one of my colleagues, a former colleague said, you are micromanaging by calling. He's been told that you are already micromanaging by calling us and demanding that you need this information and that information. So that's an issue in our government, and it's a big issue. But hopefully, CEDA will have its own data that is readily available for investors or any individuals that are looking into future plans in terms of business. Not necessarily just investors from outside, but our local people also here. And I observed that our young people now are really venturing into business, even though they start small. So those are the things also that probably they might be coming in and looking at CEDA for some kind of assistance. So thank you again, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Cruz. Mr. Sablan, you mentioned earlier that you have good people on the board, and we are looking forward to a very successful new agency with new responsibilities. Yes, I agree that we should have a combination of people in any form, and in this case, in the board, because wisdom is very important, and it takes you years. Sometimes you have gray hair growing on your head, and that's, when people ask me about my hair, I say these are all accomplishments in life. But I think all of us here truly believe that with experience, we develop all this wisdom, and then it provides you good, good direction, and we can also provide good direction to others, especially our young folks. So thank you again, Del Cruz, and hopefully you will continue to assist, sharing your vision and the other board members, so we can proceed and accomplish more of what the CNY has been looking for, is economic development and opportunities.
I just want to share something with you. You know, right now, I think CDA is experiencing a lot of our young entrepreneurs that are, getting into business now. A lot of, instead of getting employment to the government or something like that, they start their own businesses. And it's a good sign that, we can diversify to different types of business.
Thank you, Vice President, and thank you also, Mr. Cruz and Director, for your time being here to answer questions and concerns regarding your reappointment, Mr. Cruz. And I would also like to, extend our gratitude for CETA for doing an outreach program to the senatorial district as a result of what you mentioned earlier about young entrepreneurs are participating to diversify our economy. I appreciate your staff for reaching out, doing an outreach program to educate our people how to become a members of the business community. So again, I emphasize that we continue to do so, especially during this time of economic downfall because of the pandemic. We're fortunate that we're receiving federal money to assist us subsidize our austerity measure here in the Commonwealth. And I share the same sentiment with the QC program. Even how much we pass legislation and the entities are not working together for the betterment and for economic growth in our Commonwealth, it is not going to work. And I've seen economic or rather potential investors that wishes to invest in the Commonwealth. And one entity is doing the very best. For example, QC is an incentive program to convince potential investors to come in and invest, and for economic growth in our region. But then other permitting agencies that are holding back projects within their review of regulation. I believe that even though CEDA is a different entity, but I believe working together, collaborating with other agencies that you see that is, delaying that potential development that is going to, to happen on the island, we should be, collaborating among each other to help and move that project forward, rather than just waiting for one another to do their part. Sometimes when we see project that is moved forward and one agency is holding it back because of jurisdiction or authority. I think in this situation we must remove that kind of mindset of whose authority is that. I think for the betterment of our Commonwealth is working together and see how we can work with the other agency to make that development happen. Because if we sit back and wait for 60 days to go through, or even if I've seen cases that even if it's already cleared, they have to exhaust the 60 days period, and I think that will drive away potential investors. Investors that are coming in, they mean business. They want to make money. And the Sinaloa government also, we want to make money, and we're wishing for economic growth and job opportunity for our people. That's what we need. And during this pandemic, I think CEDA should be working together with other permitting agencies to see what we can do to help our local entrepreneurs. I know that the qualified certificate is it's within your jurisdiction to make regulation as to how long that QC should be given. I don't know. I know in the past that some are given 25 years, and then it's your jurisdiction whether or not you're going to continue to get. But with the situation that we have right now, the difficult times that the cinema is encountering, I think we should look into the businesses that we have here, if it's necessary to entice them, to convince them to continue to do business and continue to have, job opportunity for people. I think we should do that. And I working together with like I said, work together with the other entity, other permitting agency. I think that's the best thing to do to make, our economy move forward. Our main economic, or our main source of revenue here is tourism. And I know that there is the government, governor economic, economic council advisor are working so diligently with the businesses. And I hope that they are reaching out with your department to work together and see what ideas CEDA can provide and how we can work out with our tourism. So, like I said, being a team player in this crisis is the best thing to do here in the company. So I'm looking forward, we're looking forward for CEDA to be working with the other agency that you see that it's delaying. Because like I mentioned, even though you provide the opportunity for QC for such investor, and the other entity or permitting agency is not moving forward, it doesn't matter how much support you have for this entity. It's not going to move forward, and we will lose potential investors that that have the desire to do business in the company. So again, I hope that you CEDA continue to work with the other permitting agency to push project or whatever that is holding that development to push forward and make things happen. Again, I thank you for your time, Mr. De La Cruz, and for your patience, and I appreciate for continue. I know this is a very huge responsibility because you're talking about economic growth, and I hope that if you're given the opportunity by this body, you work with the city members and the secretary of staff and help our economy with even with the phase the first stage of initial stage of an investor that's trying to to invest in our just massive. Any other member wishes to? Ready? At this time, open the comments are taken. Let the record reflect that there are also written testimonies submitted from individuals in support of the appointee before this committee and will be included in the Senate Standing Committee recommendation report along with the oral testimonies that were received this morning and will be forwarded before the full Senate members in consideration for confirmation or rejection. At this time, before we adjourn, I would like to extend on behalf of the Committee on Executive Appointment our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Governor Torres and Lieutenant Governor Palacios' representative, Mr. or rather Mrs. Maritita Mishai, the appointee Mr. Kim Q. De La Cruz, and most especially the members of the general public for your participation and involvement during this important public hearing process. And we certainly hope that we continue this dialogue of communication between us, the elected officials, and the public to keep you abreast and informed of our current and future Senate hearings ahead that relates to the public best interest. This concludes this public hearing for today. Do I hear a motion for adjournment? There's a motion for adjournment and was seconded. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This public hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.